Welcome everybody who just joined us from the waiting room. So lovely to see you all. Some familiar names, which is nice to see. We'll just give it 1 sec before we get kicking into today's content, but I'm super excited to welcome you all in. So, all right, 1201. Welcome back, everyone. So this is our 4th talk in the 2nd season of PIER. So if you missed the earlier ones, these are recorded. So 100% they're available for you online as well as in a podcast format. So if you're not a huge video person, at least this way you can turn off your phone and put it in your pocket. I do want to address what exactly PIER is. So if you haven't been here before, PIER was founded on the principle of reminding us that there is positivity, there is innovation, and there is resiliency in the Edmonton community. And this is not something new for Edmontonians, especially Edmontonian entrepreneurs. We've been through quite a few different things throughout the years, and it's just another challenge to add to everyone's caps. So before we get started today, I do want to start with our land acknowledgement. So Homestead and myself honors and thanks the many First Nations on whose historical and traditional lands Edmonton was founded, including the Cree, Dene, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, and Nakota Sioux. We acknowledge and embrace the fact that we are on the traditional land of Treaty 6 territory and the traditional Métis homelands of Region 4. We acknowledge the diverse Indigenous peoples whose ancestors' footsteps have marked the territory for centuries. From First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and now settlers from around the world. We do this to create awareness that we are all treaty people and to show recognition and respect for Indigenous people and the traditional territories on which we live, work, and play. We take our responsibilities with Indigenous people seriously, and together we call upon all of our collective honor, traditions, and spirits to work in building a great city for today and future generations. Homestead holds these values of inclusiveness and diversity deep within the founding of this space, and this series was created with those same intentions. We are a community at the heart. Even if you're not part of the Homestead community, we're all part of the Edmonton community. Even if you're not part of the Edmonton community, we're all part of the world community. So we welcome you today, and we do thank all of you for attending. So today we're actually going to be focusing on a very interesting dynamic that we have going on with lovely Miss Avery here. So just to give you a little bit of background about Avery, she's the partner and co-founder of Kaden Ave Communications, which the fun part of having Kaden Ave, I know some people have seen it and they've read Kaden Ave, but it's a long A, just like Katie and Avery. So that's the fun part there. Avery holds 2 degrees from MacEwan University, so local right in the neighborhood there. One in archaeology and the other in honors psychology. So naturally, she found her calling in marketing, right? Especially digital marketing. She is a serial entrepreneur and also the co-founder of Femme Cabal, a social enterprise that engages our local community to better the lives of women. And more recently, she's starting a subscription box service called Lady Magic Club, which we're super excited to hear about as well. Avery's professional experience has ranged from psychometrics to client relations, account management, and to being a full digital marketing strategist. But her interests lie in all things social media and marketing related. She specializes in content marketing and is a social media consultant for some pretty big names that I'm sure a few of you will know. Alberta Innovates, the Winspear, Rapid Fire Theater, a few more in there for sure, but they're all ones that you know, that's for sure. For fun, she's a fan of museums, obviously, with a background in archaeology, going to movies by herself, which I've recently started doing, and I do recommend it when we're allowed to do that once again. Drinking cheap wine with good friends, and glamping. Avery's also heavily involved in gender parity in politics, and it's a topic that she actually hosts a podcast about. So once again, we have another very talented podcaster with us, so we're very excited about that. So we're going to get started. Avery has a little presentation prepared. If you do have any questions throughout the way, feel free to put them in the chat as we go along, and then we'll get to them when we get to our little Q&A. Take it away, Avery.
Perfect. So I don't know if you have to like share my screen, but I'm ready to go.
You should be able to click it, or do you want me to open it?
Oh, let's see here. Oh, got it here. Okay. Everyone see that? Perfect. Okay. Hi. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here, and especially from Homestead in my office right now. So let's get going. So I am Avery, the Ave of Kaden Ave, which rhymes with Kaden Dave. Um, we do always have to clarify this, and that's totally on us for calling ourselves Kaden Ave. But we always say you can call us whatever you want to call us as long as you pay your invoice. So as mentioned, I am the partner and co-founder in Femme Cabal, Kaden Ave Communications, and Lady Magic Club. So Femme Cabal has been around for about 3 years now. We're an online community that supports women in Edmonton. And Lady Magic Club is brand new. It's going to be a subscription box that supports women makers from around the world, but specifically in Edmonton at the beginning. So I'm really excited to tell you guys more about that when we're finally ready to launch, which will be soon. So I'll tell you a little bit about Kaden Ave Communications. So we founded it in 2017, myself and my partner, Katie Hobbins. She's on the left in this picture. Sorry, podcast, you can't see it. But we do social media and content marketing. We really do a range of many different digital marketing activities, but this is what we like to do, and this is what we specialize in. We call ourselves a boutique agency because we're very picky about who our clients are. We really like to work with small to medium-sized businesses, but especially ones that have owners that are really invested in their own marketing. So we choose our clients based on how passionate people are about their own businesses. We currently have 45 ongoing clients. So that means like clients that we service every single month. And from those 45 clients, we manage 82 accounts on 5 different social media platforms. So definitely know what we're doing. We do a lot of it. We're very efficient in what we do. And I still wake up every single day and love my job. So that's good. And as mentioned, yeah, a few of our clients include Alberta Innovates, Rapid Fire Theatre. We do content for Money After Grad. We do all the Beyond Vision locations here in Edmonton and many more. You can look on our website for a list of most of our clients. So talk about why we started Kaden Ave. So this is back in 2017. It was, not really purposeful from the beginning. It was one of those things where we were answering a lot of questions about social media for our friends and family. And we realized, hey, we could probably make money doing this. Like, why give away advice for free? If you have knowledge about a certain subject that other people don't have knowledge on, charge people for it. So that was really actually a slow realization for us because both Katie and myself were working in other fields. Katie was working for Stars Air Ambulance, more in a communications PR role, and I was working for a tech company as a data analyst, so very different. But we found that social media is a creative outlet with a statistical twist. So as a data analyst, I was every single day in spreadsheets, looking at numbers, really working on that math side of my brain, and then using my personal social media as my creative outlet. So now that it's my job, I get to do both because data really drives what we do, the strategy behind social media. For Katie and myself, we had actually been working as separate freelancers. So we were technically competing against each other. We were friends. We served on the same board. We worked both on the board of Global Shapers here in Edmonton. And we were texting all day, talking about our clients and saying, like, what do you do with your client when this happens? And what do you do? And what would you do in this situation? And then we eventually realized that, hey, we work pretty well together. We should probably just join forces rather than compete against each other. We actually, at one point, went up for the same job at ATB Financial, a social media job. We both applied for it and got an interview, and Katie had her interview first, and then she gave me all of the interview questions. So even though we were competing for the job, we were like still supporting each other through it. Neither of us got the job. It actually went to Tyler Butler, who I think ended up doing a PIER, or yeah. Mm-hmm. So good for Tyler. He's awesome at what he does, but whatever. Salty. But had we gotten that job, we wouldn't be here today. So everything works out. And finally, you can't hire the unemployable. So I always say that I'm unemployable in that I'm a really bad employee. I have too much of an entrepreneurial drive. Like, I want to do things my way. I want to take the reins, and that doesn't always work out when you're working for someone else. So I'm a much better owner, partner, manager than I am an employee. I was also always late for work. So now I don't really have a schedule, which is nice. Okay, So how we started Kaden Ave. So at the very beginning, we had absolutely no plan. Like I said, it was just something that we were like, hey, we're good at this. We should do this. So at the very beginning, we didn't get a business loan. We didn't do anything that most businesses do. We didn't start a business plan. We just winged it. So at the beginning, we worked really, really hard. We both had 2 jobs. We worked our full-time job, and then we were also doing all of our freelancing and Kaden Ave stuff on the side. So put hashtag grind, because it was a grind. We worked about 16, 17-hour days, just doing both jobs. And then it basically got to the point where Katie quit her full-time job first, because she went, okay, I'm too busy and I'm finally making enough money for my clients that I can quit. And I followed her about a month later. And I think I had like $50 in my bank account. Like, I was not ready. I was not like prepared to be an entrepreneur. I was just like, it's time. And I took the leap, and within about 3 months, I was making more than I was making at my full-time job. So it worked out. It was just a matter of like, just doing it. And I hear a lot of people that are starting businesses go like, how should I do this? When do I know is the right time to quit my job? And the answer is, there's no right time. You just do it, and you work hard, and it will pay off. So Kaden Ave, we started off by utilizing our close networks of people that we know in the city. So we asked ourselves, who do we know that owns businesses, and can we approach them and ask them if they need social media? And then who do they know? So word of mouth and this whole referral network, it spread really fast for us, and we were able to get enough clients to sustain ourselves in the beginning. And then we built on that success because we always provide really, really good work. So our mantra is quality over quantity always. We never skimp on quality in order to get more clients. Like I said, that boutique approach it means that we provide really good work for the clients that we have, and then they tell their friends about us. So being a marketing company, we've actually never done our own marketing. We have our own social media, but we've never run ads. We've never really done content marketing for ourselves because we haven't needed to. So that's been nice. So I want to talk a little bit about our business model pre-COVID and then after COVID, because things did change for us, and I think it's probably the same for a few businesses. So pre-COVID, we had very low overhead costs. So we're both working from home at the time. We don't really have any material goods. We don't sell things, we sell services. So our material goods are really just the technology that we use, our laptops, our phones, our phone bills, our Wi-Fi bill. And those are all pretty manageable costs. Our food bill, like when we go to Earl's to eat for lunch, that was pretty much our cost. And at this point, we had a contractor model. So we had contractors working for us. We still do, but at this point, it was just contractors. So we would hire people to run certain accounts for us, and we would pay them for the work that they do. And that's really good because it allows for flexibility, and we were able to scale quickly. So we could take on a bunch of new clients without stretching ourselves too thin, because we can hand off the work to contractors and train them to do it themselves. But the con of that is obviously that contractors are not always there when you need them. A lot of them have full-time jobs, and they're doing social media as like a side gig. And understandably, you can't just call them and be like, I need this right now. So we'd have to pick up a lot of the slack that they couldn't handle. And then COVID hit, and COVID kind of changed everything for us. And the reason that COVID changed everything for us was because, when you start as a small business, we were paying ourselves like in dividends. We only had contractors. And then we realized when COVID happened how unstable our business model was. It allowed, we were able to flourish in the beginning, but we realized that if all of our clients were to quit in one day, which, that would never happen unless there's a global pandemic that closes the doors of all businesses, we realized that we needed a little bit more security in the way that we were operating. So post-COVID, obviously having low overhead costs saved us, not having to pay for rent, not having to pay for a big staff that we had to lay off or anything like that. We're still a small business, so we were able to operate really lean. But the biggest change was that we hired contractors as employees instead. And what that did for us was hiring them as full-time employees gave us that security that they would continue doing work for us, but it also gave them security that they wouldn't have to go out and find another job, so that they could continue to work for us. So we really realized that your human resources are the most important aspect of your business. It's not your revenue, it's not anything else. It's the people that are making your business a business. So without a solid team of loyal people that you're paying well and giving benefits to, your business wouldn't exist. So you really have to treat your people first, and you have to treat them as people with real lives and real emotions, and then work your business around that. So especially during COVID, where it was scary. I mean, it's still scary, but at the very beginning, it was terrifying. I was like crying myself to sleep every night because I had no idea what was happening. Everyone was freaking out, including our employees. So it's really hard to tell our employees like, hey, you need to do this, 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 and this, when I could barely get out of bed. So we had to really, like, you have to understand that your employees are people, and you have to treat them as people. That was our biggest change. So what we learned in 2020, and this includes not just COVID, but also the human rights movement that's been happening, way overdue, but it has changed how we do social media for the better, but we're learning a lot as we go. So biggest learning is that you have to be flexible. You have to be willing to change everything overnight, and then tomorrow change it all over again. So you can change your processes and go like, okay, now this is how we're going to do it. But then the next day things might change again, or there might be something else happening in the news, or whatever it might be, and you have to be willing to pivot on in the moment. Another thing is that online is where everything happens. So we had a lot of clients that were selling in store, and they didn't have an e-commerce website. So for example, a hair salon that was selling like knickknacks and bags and a bunch of different things, clothes, signs, everything. They had been selling them in their store because it was a good opportunity for people to come in while they're getting their hair done to do some shopping. But then when they had to close their hair salon, they realized like, we have no revenue coming in, but we have all this stuff that we could sell. So we put together an e-commerce website for them in like 3 days, just banged it together, put it up, and then they actually ended up selling like 4 times their revenue of stuff than they had when they were in store. So it actually helped them get through the pandemic, get through the beginning of COVID, phase 1, phase 2 at that time. So definitely if you are selling something in a store, you need to get an online e-commerce website, even if it's not your focus of where you want to be selling. Next point, obviously be resilient. And that's what this whole PIER series is about. Things are going to be hard. I know myself, I was, like I said, crying in bed in the morning, like, I don't want to get up, this sucks, I don't understand what's happening in the world. But you have to get up and just have to grind it out, especially as a business owner, because you're responsible not just for yourself, but all the people that work for you. So I kept telling myself, like, this will pass. This will pass. It sucks right now, but eventually we're going to get through this. And I feel like, I mean, we're still in the middle of a pandemic, don't get me wrong, but I feel like things are a lot better now than they were 4 months ago. And then finally, be humble. So, and this is more so on the side of the human rights issues, is that if you trip up or you say something wrong or you don't say something at all and you get called out for it, you have to be willing to say sorry. And I think a lot of businesses and individuals, influencers, etc., they got themselves into trouble because they didn't know how to just step back and say, like, I'm sorry, I don't know what I'm doing. Here's what I could have done better. Here's resources that I'm learning from. You have to add that humility into the mix. So I want to talk about why Homestead, because like I said, we had no office before COVID, and then kind of in the middle of COVID, we decided to move into Homestead, which is kind of bizarre. Like, most people didn't get an office in the middle of the pandemic, but we did. So we realized that, well, collaboration for one. It's really isolating to be at home, working from home. I mean, a lot of people move to working from home from an office. And if you're an extrovert like I am, Katie's not an extrovert, she's an introvert. She's fine working from home every day, but I'm not. So I want that collaboration. I want to just like come in the office, even if it's just talking to someone for 5 minutes or saying hello in the morning. Having that collaboration and that community is really important to me. The other thing is, having an office downtown was critical for us, because before COVID, we would go sit up in a coffee shop for like 4 hours, and we would just book our meetings back to back and have our clients come to us, which was okay. I mean, it wasn't great because we were drinking like 5 coffees in the span of 3 hours. We were loitering in downtown coffee shops. But now with COVID, I mean, a lot of coffee shops don't even have seats. You're not supposed to stay there for that long. You're not really supposed to have like face-to-face meetings that close. So now that we have this downtown office, we're able to bring people here and have safe social distancing, and continue to have those face-to-face meetings. Having access to other creatives has been really, really great for us. We're still at the beginning of this, and I know that there's more people moving into Homestead soon, but just having someone to bounce ideas off of. Homestead has a really great Slack channel. There's a really it's not tight-knit community, that's not the right word, but really trusting community. I know that I could put something out there and get really honest feedback and be able to get some positivity from having that community. And then also just being able to leave my house from time to time, having an excuse to put on some makeup, put on pants, that's been really nice. And this final point, I think we can talk about this kind of between us, but the Marketers in Residence program here in Homestead, because it's brand new. We're the first Marketers in Residence. What it means is that we have an office space here. We're going to be doing some marketing activities for Homestead. You may have noticed that we've taken over the Instagram account right now. We're creating some content for Homestead. We're also going to be offering our services to other businesses that are within Homestead. So that's really nice for them because they get to move in and be a part of this community, but then also have some expert opinions here. So, if someone needs some advice on how to run their social media account, they can literally just knock on my door and I'll give them some advice. Yeah, so that's all that I have here. I just want to put this up. If you need to get in contact with us, there's a billion ways to get in contact with me. You can even just contact Homestead and I'm sure they'll pass on the message, but that's all that I have.
Awesome. Yeah, it's definitely easy to get in contact with you guys because you have the same handle on every social media.
You bet.
It is so much more effective than a lot of people think. And I know Homestead a couple of years ago, we used to have some different ones and they did not all match. And you lose people in between for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But it is a good thing that we're not blue check marks after yesterday, though.
Oh my gosh.
we had if you're not a frequent Twitter user, all of the verified accounts got shut down for a little while yesterday. So we're lucky that we're small sometimes, and that's the strength that small businesses have. Is when something affects the big boys, it doesn't necessarily hit us in the same way. So. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that presentation with us. I'm just going to pop it down. If I can. Oh, is it not going to let me do that? If you can just pop it off. Actually, apparently I can't interrupt you. This is the power of sharing co-host. But yeah, no, it's super exciting because I know marketing is something that we've had people say to us, like they want help with this. They're not really sure how to do anything, but they haven't ever really considered it the same way that they consider things like accounting. When we had our one-on-ones with one of our members, they said, well, you have to figure out this, you have to figure out that. You don't really have to figure out marketing, but that's the thing they were asking for. So that's where your strengths definitely come from. And it's great to see that. I'm going to start out with the question that I ask everybody, which you coming from just outside of Edmonton will be slightly more interesting as well to hear your answer. But what in your experience makes Edmonton an appealing place to entrepreneurs to start their businesses?
Yeah, Edmonton is like a big city with a small town feel. So having grown up in a small town, it's a place that everyone knows everyone else, everyone's business. When I first moved to Edmonton, I was like, wow, this big city. Oh my gosh, there's so many people. And don't get me wrong, there are so many people, but the entrepreneurial community is actually quite small. So there's a degrees of separation here. It's only a maximum of 2 or 3 people. So everyone knows someone who knows someone else. So that's been really great because, like I said, we get all of our business through referrals. So that's been really nice because it's oh, well, that business, I definitely know. If I don't know who owns that business, I know someone who knows someone who owns that business, which is really handy. But in this industry in particular, for marketing, digital marketing, there's a lot of collaboration between freelancers and even between competitors. So given the small town feel, it's also still a big city. And there's a lot of businesses, which means that there's a lot of work to go around for everyone in digital marketing. So there's not really any point in being super competitive with each other, because we're not really necessarily going up against each other for the same businesses. You know, if I have a hair salon, I'm not necessarily going to be taking on another hair salon in the same area, which means that another social media company can take that on. So yeah, there's a lot of collaboration, a lot of it feels very helpful between each other. I actually have a big group chat with a bunch of communicators here in Edmonton, and we always give each other advice, and it's really nice.
Yeah, that's something that Amit actually mentioned in our first episode, actually, is that the community, she was just shocked because I guess in BC they go at each other. Like if you're anywhere near competition, they're going for you.
I've heard that. I've definitely heard that. And Amit is in my group chats. There you go.
See, it works out, right?
Yeah.
So one other thing that we talked about with like Linda and a couple other people is just transparency throughout the pandemic, and how being more honest on social media has been something that we've seen people kind of trend with. And when you talked about in your presentation, reacting quickly to things and being able to say sorry, is that something that you build right into the brand from like the beginning, or has this been like kind of evolving as you go along as well?
For us, for Kaden Ave, I mean, transparency and honesty has always been one of our core values. That's just who me and Katie are. We've always been the people that speak our mind on Twitter, on Instagram. That's actually what drew us to each other. So we knew each other peripherally because we had some mutual friends. So I knew what I thought I knew about Katie just from like seeing her. She's a beautiful girl. I was like, I hate her. She's so beautiful. And then I started following her Instagram and her Twitter, and I was like, oh, she's really real and she's really honest. And she felt the same about me. So getting to know each other based on that meant that when we started our business together, that was just something that we had. We've always been willing to speak our minds, and we don't really know how else to do it. So that said, I think that there is real value and power in being transparent. It means that your clients and people that you work with, they know exactly what they're getting. It's not a matter of like who you are on the internet versus who you are in real life. You don't have to toe that line. You don't have to play that game. So.
I know specifically one of your latest tweets that went out from Kaden Ave was dance like nobody's watching, tweet like you could get fired for what you say. And I found that very interesting because, you know, in the past few years, like when Twitter first started, you didn't tell people where you lived. You didn't do anything like that, let alone say a controversial opinion or anything like that. So I do enjoy that this has kind of been pushing those conversations. And do you believe that being outspoken has like severe impact on businesses? Like I know even on your website, you guys state you're 100% women-owned business. And there are times in the past where that definitely would have affected you. Have you seen things like that affect?
So yes and no. So we've never really had any pushback about saying that we're 100% women-owned. If anything, we've had more support from that. But misogyny is very real, and it's especially real on the internet when people don't have to show their faces behind the words that they're saying. So I've personally received online harassment from being like a loudmouth feminist on the internet, which is fine. That's kind of like when you run a feminist blog site like I do, you kind of have to expect it. You have to kind of be ready for it. It sucks that that's the reality, but I know that. But we did actually, for Kaden Ave in particular, we did have someone contact us through our form on our website saying, hey, I have a bar that I want you to run the social media for, but I have a few questions first. And so we were like, great, what are your questions? And he was like, well, a lot of the clientele at my bar are men, and it seems like you guys are man-hating feminists. So like, how will this work? And we were like, well, sir, we'll stop you right there. Like, this is not going to be a match because A, I don't believe that you have a bar in the first place. But B, if you don't know the difference between man-hating and feminism, then we're not going to be able to work together. So we're very, very willing to say to people like, oh, we don't want to work with you either if you're not okay with us being strong, opinionated women. So I mean, it possibly could affect our business, but at the same time, that's not business that we care to have.
Yeah, that's great. I think that we referenced this a couple times, but actually Carly, who was on the show a little while back, also a McEwen grad, she said, if you take everything, it's a waterfall and it washes away who you are. And
I like that.
it has really stuck with me throughout this series. It's one of the quotes, like there have been amazing speakers and some of the things that they've said I've been like jotting down as we go along. And that one of just washing away the essence of who you are, I found very interesting, especially because as an entrepreneur, if you're trying to please everyone, you please no one, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And on that note too, being outspoken on Twitter in particular has actually gotten us more work than it's turned away. We've gotten some really, really big contracts, some really important contracts from people who work at these big companies going, I like what you say on the internet and I like how transparent you are. And we know exactly what we're getting. And, oh, look, you can form a full sentence and a full thought. And that's the biggest thing about being a communicator is, can you speak and can you speak well? So if anything, it's been a pro for us versus being a con.
Yeah, that's great to hear because honestly, I think we do need more of that. And watching people move forward, I think we will see a change, like a bigger change on social media. It is definitely going to affect that. The humanizing brands through like Sassy Wendy's is, I think, not going to be as big anymore. I think it's going to be humanization through the actual connection.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah, it's an exciting time for sure. And I think that's where it's exciting that you can kind of bring this experience of seeing the change in social media as it's evolved to some of our members, because some of our members have been businesses for years and years and years, but some of them are also brand new. So maybe they think, we saw that Facebook is the big thing back in like 2008. This way it'll be a little bit easier for you to speak on things for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the questions that we're most commonly asked is, what do we post about? Like, we're a business, but like, we don't know what people want to hear about us. We don't know what to say. We don't have anything interesting to say. And we always say, like, it comes down to your story. Every business has a story. Every business has real people working for them. So social media should really just be the avenue that you use to tell your story. And that definitely goes in line with this whole like humanization of marketing. So yeah, I mean, talk about why you started, what you do, who you help. Every little piece of that story is its own social media post. So
yeah, I think that's really interesting. I know we also spoke previously when you were first joining the Homestead team as the marketer in residence, that some other spaces had actually kind of talked to you about this already. And I know specifically there was something that kind of drew you to Homestead. Was it something specific that you can share with us, or?
Yeah, oh my gosh. We did shop around for actually a few years. We had considered getting a co-working space, and it never really seemed to be worth the commute because I live in like the deep south of Edmonton. Katie used to live in the deep east, and now she lives south. So we were like, if we're going to drive downtown, especially, it needs to be perfect. So Homestead offers us like kind of everything that we were looking for, in that it's got a great location. There's usually parking out front, and it's street parking, so it's cheap. It's very aesthetically pleasing in here, which is nice. I mean, if we have an office, we want to be able to post about it. We want to take good pictures of it. And this place is so nice looking. It's also that mix of history. Like, I'm obsessed with Edmonton history. So being in a building that has such a rich background to it, and getting to be a part of that story now is really appealing to us. I also love, like, Kaden, the owner, is such a badass entrepreneur herself, and she has so much leadership experience. And I know that being here, I've already learned so much from her, and I can't wait to tap into that more and to share more of what she does and her knowledge. And I also love the fact that we can have this private office, and it's a big office. There's enough space for us to grow, but we still get to, open the door and have that collaborative environment if we want to. So yeah, it like Homestead really just checked all the boxes for us. And then also with, you know, there's going to be eventually a podcast studio in the basement, and there's event space here for when we're allowed to have events again. Homestead is also very inclusive, you know, having like gender neutral bathrooms, that kind of thing. Like all of these were boxes that we wanted to check, and that not every single home co-working space was offering. So
Yeah, actually, like things like the gender neutral washrooms, that actually came from member suggestions. So it's a space that really the members have built, and you can definitely see that even when you walk by Scott's mural on the wall there, which I'm thinking we might have to get on Instagrammable walls of Edmonton, Linda,
yeah, totally.
right?
I love it.
It's such a lovely wall, and it's such a lovely mural, and he did such a great job. And you can see the pieces of members here, right? Like we have the maid library as well, the architect library, just pretty much right across from you guys. But it's very interesting. And if you see it develop over time, like if you go back to the beginning of our Instagram, which I'm sure you did when you were doing your little research about us, it's changed a lot. It's a lot of differences, and adding on the fourth floor has even opened up even more things. So we're always excited to have more member impact there. So 100% of the ones that we have joining us today, you can start thinking of some cool things, and we'll start doing it. Like I never thought of doing the flower wall that you guys have.
That was all TikTok. I saw that on TikTok and I was like, we have to do that.
Yeah, because it's like it's a cork board essentially, but it has little holes in it, and now it's filled with these beautiful silk flowers, right?
Yeah.
And it just looks so good.
It's so easy. Go to our Instagram if you want to see it. It's like sitting right there for me, but yeah. There's so many opportunities to make the space your own, and we definitely have done that. We feel right at home here, so it's nice.
That's awesome, because I know during the pandemic, like who would have thought, right? And like Mariah is super excited to have you. She said, "Welcome to Homestead," and that she's so excited to have you and the team in the space. So it's that's really awesome to see as well. Like having collaboration between non-typical partners as well. Like Mariah comes from IDEA, which is infill Edmonton, and who would have ever thought like a digital marketing company and like somebody who's focused on advocating for infill development in Edmonton. But there's so much overlap there where the collaboration can take off. So it's very interesting to see that.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, even just, you know, hearing that, like that's a topic that I'm personally interested in too. I want to build an infill home. I'm also very civically minded. So just getting to learn more about how my city operates, this is what drives my passion. And it's so nice to be able to not be within my own bubble, because for years, Katie and I were basically in our own little bubble. We talked to a lot of people within our own industry, but we didn't have many opportunities to talk to people outside other than our clients. So getting to speak with people who are not just, you know, they're not just paying our bills, they're just here to like bounce ideas off of. It's really, really cool. It's nice.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome for sure. And with this partnership, like this isn't something that's really been done in Edmonton. I know the Marketer in Residence program is something that you've seen in a couple different spaces, but most of that has been in the US that I've seen. Do you see this as kind of like a trend for co-working though?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think there's so many benefits to it. And I really think that like that whole collaboration over competition thing is the way that things should go. In social media marketing in particular, like I said, there's so much work for us to go around. But it also, you know, having this type of partnership between marketing and having creatives and other businesses all working together, it helps us all scale up and scale fast. So we don't have to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on hiring someone just to get a couple of questions answered. You can just go knock on the door and ask them questions. I mean, obviously that has to work both ways, but it's really, really handy. And like we always say for ourselves that our goal is to put ourselves out of business. So if we are doing the right thing for our clients, they're growing to the point where hopefully they can hire internal marketing which means that we get fired, which is actually kind of our ideal. And it's kind of the same for a co-working space, in that you want to help a business grow to the point where, hey, they can now afford their own office space or their own office building. So in that sense, like, we're both kind of stepping stones to the next big thing, but that means that we get to be a big part of that business's story, and then make space for the next one to come up.
Mm-hmm. It's
So,
actually been amazing seeing, I think lately we've been saying that people like graduate out of the space,
yeah,
and like Naheowin is an example of that. We
yes,
had them on a couple weeks ago, and yeah, they've just grown and grown and grown. It's
they're amazing.
amazing to see. I
Yeah,
definitely fun to see. As well, it is very interesting because we've actually created our own sort of community now, just for co-working. And I think that stemmed from hearing from Amit and yourself and people of like, yeah, we all talk even though we're competitors. We were like, we interacted on social media, but we weren't directly tied to each other. And we have our own Slack now where we've been talking throughout the pandemic of, there are different co-working spaces for everyone. Every space
totally.
will fit everyone. But
Yeah.
what are we, like, what is our contribution to this community? So I think it's been really fun kind of diving into the other spaces. But yeah, I would say we're definitely unique in having this marketers in residence program.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see kind of what comes of it, and just having a tangible effect and getting to see the results of what we do. The fruits of our labor is so fun. It's kind of exactly why I do what I do, is getting to see that impact on these businesses. So
For sure. So if somebody, like, let's say somebody watching who's not necessarily in the space all the time, if they did want to just shoot you like a quick email to be like, hey, I'm also a Homestead member, we should have like a little Zoom chat or something.
yeah, oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, send me a chat on our Slack, send
Oh,
me
true.
an email, come knock on the door if you're here in the space. I'm happy to chat with anyone, and I want to meet everyone. It's also on our list of things to do, is to do like a little profile of everyone that is in Homestead right now. So hopefully I'll get to meet everyone face to face eventually, but that might take some time, understandably. We're still in the pandemic. But yeah, I absolutely, I'm here for anything. I could talk about social media all day, every day. I'll never get sick of it. So ask me anything.
Yeah, that's awesome because I know we've been working on our membership list to kind of include when people move in as well, and it just keeps getting bigger right now. It is kind of weird. We weren't expecting this, and summer is typically slower for co-working because everyone goes on vacation, but there's going to be quite a few new faces. So I'm really looking forward to August when we can have some more new faces join us for these calls as well.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that, because I do have a few friends that are, working from home right now. Like, some of them own their own businesses or were freelancing, but they were used to having their kids go to daycare. And now they've been working for 5 months with their kids by their side, and they're like getting no work done at all. So I've mentioned like, oh, I'm in Homestead now and there's hot desks available and you can come get some work done for like a few hours. And they're like, oh my God, please get me out of the house. So I hope to see more of that. And honestly, like, a lot of it is women. It's a lot of women that are just like, they just need to crank out some work and some productive hours. And I think this is the perfect space for it. So yeah, I think we'll hopefully see a real trend in hot desks here.
Yeah, I mean, even from upstairs on the fourth floor, we've had some people be like, I never knew what life without childcare was like.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they've been saying that they've actually been working more through the pandemic because they've had to make up
Yeah.
for the time.
Totally. Oh, absolutely. I know. Parents that are making it through this pandemic, you are amazing. I don't have kids, so I don't have the experience, but I see you and I think you're superheroes. I think it's awesome. But that said, if you do need some time away, I mean, come on down. I'll make you some coffee with, I don't know, what do you put in coffee? Like Bailey's, vodka, I don't know, whatever you need.
Yeah, it's going to be super fun. Just with the changes going on, and like, we're always trying to add new things in, and that's one of the cool parts of having kind of like an outsider come in and be like a full-fledged member now is you get to be like, well, you know, we have shopped around at other spaces. This is what we need. And I know we have some fun things coming. We have some fun incentives planned for the people who have stuck with us throughout this. So we're pretty excited to give you guys some more appreciation because you are the reason why we do this, right? It's exactly the same as your business, and it's super exciting to get everybody set up for success and just to see the continued not even resiliency, but like the flourishing of these businesses is so inspiring.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited. I truly love it here, and I mean it's my most productive time. It's my best working hours. There's so much creativity that just like flows through this building that it really helps me kind of get out of my own head a bit. So
definitely, I think every entrepreneur on this call can relate to that.
Yeah. Definitely.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. It's been incredible just hearing how you've grown through this, which I think not a lot of people expect to see growth through a global pandemic. So it's really, really interesting to see that side of things and to see not only that, but where you guys are going next is so exciting.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, yeah, I've loved chatting, and I could talk all day about social media. So if anyone has any questions or any follow-up, I'm happy to answer them. Just send me a tweet, find me on Facebook, find me on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. I'm on everything. There's 1,000 ways to get a hold of me, and no way is wrong. Except don't call me on the phone. If you call me on the phone, I will not answer. That's the only wrong way to get a hold of me.
I think that's pretty fair for certain demographics. We're a little anti-phone, which is strange because then Alicia, who is our front desk concierge, if you don't know her, Gen Z loves the phone.
Oh, hate it.
Yep. I feel like it's skipped over millennials. It was just like, no, we're just like, but it's pretty fun how you can see those changes too as well. And so like if you are targeting certain demographics, it's very interesting to see like even just the differences between Gen Z to millennial, like right there.
Oh yeah.
So I'm sure we're going to be talking your ear off about that as we continue forward.
I love it. I'm ready.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm pretty excited about this one because I think we have so much cool stuff coming out with Kaden Ave, and even just teaching people to say Kaden Ave was pretty fun today.
Yes.
It's the little things, right? The little things that matter. And I really want to thank you again. It was very, very fun to get to talk with you and kind of show you off to our members they've been kind of peeking at the office, being like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So this is Avery, everybody. So we're gonna have some fun with her and Katie as we continue throughout this. Plus, they've got some other staff who come in, and it'll be really fun to get to know them. So thank you, everybody who came by. I'm very excited as well because next week somebody in the chat is also presenting. We have our Vincent who will be presenting, as well as Jeff Karen from Sonder Creative. So we have some pretty cool stuff to talk about next week. I know Vince says that it's very boring with development as he's a full stack developer, but people are excited about things like that right now. So this is the perfect time to hear from him. So definitely check us out next week when we talk with him and Jeff, and we'll be super, super excited to talk about dev stuff just to show him he's wrong. But thank you, everybody who stopped by today, and we're so excited to see you. So thanks again, and we'll see you next week.